Did we just see one of the absolute best street fights ever done? What's up, everybody? Eric here from That's Wrestling. Thanks for tuning in to today's AEW Dynamite post-show. And we'll be covering all of AEW Dynamite from September 16th, 2020. And if you're watching this on the YouTube, you can grab this as a podcast. But if you are listening to this as a podcast, we do this show live over on YouTube. So if you follow the link in the show notes, then you can go over there and subscribe, and you can come hang out in the chat and drop questions and all that fun stuff during the show. Head over to iTunes, give us a review, and if you have any mailbag questions, comments, feedback, all that fun stuff, you can send those to eric@thatswrestling.com. And tonight, I do not have Dustin. I thought he was going to be coming back. He has all types of life stuff going on at the moment, so I'm not sure next time he will be on. But returning for the second time this week, we have Trae Wisecarver. What's up, man?
Good, man. If you were, it's Wisecarver.
Wisecarver.
If you're watching the video, if you were looking at me while Eric was doing the opening, you could actually see my face react to the finish of the street fight on Dynamite, because I literally am just finishing watching it right this second. Oh, that was great. Yeah, that's I think that's the best match of this type I've ever seen.
Yeah, this I think this show actually was probably one of, if not the best Dynamite that they have done.
This is one of the better Dynamites, because I was I'm a little bit frazzled right now. Let me explain what happened. So your former co-host let you know earlier today that he wasn't going to be able to continue the podcast, and I had when we finished the New Japan podcast the other night, I said, hey, if you ever need me to tag in on the AEW podcast, let me know. And so when Dustin couldn't join, I just said, put me in, coach. But because of circumstances, I did not get to sit down to watch Dynamite until 4:00 today. So yeah, there are going to be some minor details that I missed from skipping around trying to make up time. And I had to see the main event, so I skipped the segment with Moxley and Cage and Archer and all those guys.
All right.
The rest of the show I've seen.
All right, cool. All right, so actually, let's get into it, and let's just kind of run it down here. And actually, right at the start of the show, we had Jurassic Express. They were in the ring, and then the Young Bucks just kind of trot out, get into the ring, and give a super kick party to the ref. Head and then just kind of like walk out of the ring, go to the back, throw a pile of money in Tony Khan's lap, and just keep leaving. They exchanged a few words with FTR in backstage, but FTR was like smiling, like giggling because of what just happened. So right here we have Young Bucks. Last week they kicked Alex Marvez. Not that that's much of a heel move, but here we have them just wandering out, kicking the ref for no reason, and then leaving.
5'9", 145-pound poor Mike Posey.
Oh, man.
Not trying to be corny here, pun intended. I am a big believer in the idea that you don't need a clear black and white heel babyface divide. We're not in kindergarten, and wrestling is no longer just a way to con money out of Mark. I mean, it is, but in a different way than it was 50 years ago. The point is, I am in favor of having more nuanced characters who behave and interact with each other the way that real humans do. And I think you have to do that for a modern product. And if you don't believe me, look at the horrible characters and scripts in WWE over the last 20 years, and then look at the decline in fan interest over the same period. Now, all of that said, AEW sometimes swings too hard the other way so that you end up not knowing how to feel about people. Okay, I like the Young Bucks. Why are they going around assaulting announcers and referees and being rude to their boss who everyone in the company loves? Like, I know, like, they're mad because of whatever, but like I just kind of, they come off to me as just kids who were acting out.
Yeah, so this did you watch Being the Elite this week?
I have not seen this week yet, no.
So this week they continued on more. They don't want to hear from Hangman Page, very similar to last week, where he wants Brandon Cutler to pass along a message for them, and they just don't want to hear it. And they continue, and they were also talking about, everybody was talking about how much we were helping out all the younger. We weren't looking out for ourselves. Maybe we should start doing that and whatnot. So it seems like the Bucks are going to start looking out for number one now.
Maybe I did see the show. Was this the one with the cake?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay. I did see the show and I just didn't remember it. Yeah.
And the explanation of how Matt Sydal almost killed himself.
Yes. Oh my god, that was brilliant. Oh, that was just a thing of beauty.
So let's even before we continue on with Dynamite. So on BTE, they made a fictional backstory on what happened to Matt Sydal. So they go back and it's like, right before All Out, and they have Kenny and the Bucks. They're putting together who's going to be in each block of the casino battle royale, and Michael Nakazawa comes in and he's looking over the papers. He's like, where am I? Where do I get to go in? And they're like, this is pay-per-view. People are paying money to see this. You're not on it. And then they're like, well, and then he's like, you don't have the Joker filled in, and they're like, oh, we have the Joker. It's gonna be Matt Sydal, and the guy who does the really awesome shooting star press. So Michael Nakazawa is all mad about him not getting a spot in the battle royale. So they show him, he goes out to the ring and puts baby oil all over the turnbuckle in that corner, and that they explain that's what happened, and that's why Matt Sydal slipped off the top rope, because Michael Nakazawa had actually sabotaged it.
That was by far the best thing that Michael Nakazawa has ever been involved in.
That was very funny. So that was a really good one over there as well. All right, so let's continue on. We had the opening match was Jurassic Express versus FTR. I thought this was a very solid match. Once again, actually probably one of the tightest matches that I've seen from Jungle Boy since the beginning of AEW. I didn't really see any miscommunications here. He didn't trip up on, he likes to do that middle rope springboard turnaround into the DDT that he's been doing. Everything has looked really good. We had of course, a great hot tag segment from Luchasaurus, and FTR, of course, they're going to be the heels and try to make things go their way and cheat when they can behind the ref's back. And how they actually finished off this match is they reversed a roll up from a Jungle Boy, and on the outside of the ring blocked blocked by their bodies. We had who was it? Wheeler was helping Harwood maintain the pin by pulling, holding his arm, and Tully was out there on the outside as well. Pretty good, and it even seemed like FTR was a little bit flustered about how much Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy caused problems for them.
Yeah, man, Jungle Boy was really, really good in this match. I want to say, first off, FTR coming to the ring with Tully Blanchard, wearing their Brainbusters tribute jackets, and wearing the World Tag Team Championship, looking just as proud as they could be, brought so much joy to my heart. Oh my God, they are such an amazing tag team. They do all of the tropes of a classic heel tag team, but it's been so long since anybody has seen this shit done correctly, and they do it so well that it comes off as state-of-the-art work. This match was so freaking awesome. It's funny, I can't tell you who got the pin because I wrote Dash, and I'm not sure if I meant Dax or Cash.
So I believe Dash is Cash, right? And Now I don't know. I don't know. I didn't watch enough NXT.
No. Scott, Dash Wilder is Cash Wheeler, and Dax Harwood was
Scott Dawson.
Yeah.
I haven't. I stopped watching WWE about 3 years ago now, so I wasn't being able to tell them apart because I hadn't seen a ton of them. But
it's funny when they first started teaming together, people would chant which one's Dash and which one's Dawson.
I was watching back then. That was pretty funny. Let's see. Question from Daxers: how do both of you feel about the lucha sequences versus Jungle Boy?
But I thought Jungle Boy was he's really, like, the last couple of months, he is really starting to find himself as a babyface. And like, he was so good in this match. I think like he kind of, being like a Southern California guy, Jungle Boy kind of has that lucha base, and everything in this match I thought worked really well.
Yeah, I love the pairing of Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, just having the big man and the smaller. Though it's really funny because both of them can basically do the same stuff. Just Luchasaurus is bigger, so it really works out. Luchasaurus has some of the best kicks that you can see. I love the he does. A roundhouse kick. He does the tail whip kick that he likes to do, and then he does the I don't know, spinning knee to the guy on the kneeling, which is great. I love both of them, and I think they've been doing really well. A lot of people, some people were talking about how it seems like they're burying Jungle Boy. It's like, have you not been watching? I believe Jungle Boy has a recent victory over Pentagon and Phoenix.
The thing is that people who have only watched WWE for the past several decades don't know what good booking looks like, so that's why they're confused.
Yeah,
Jungle Boy is being brought along very well.
Yeah, I mean, people. There has to be winners and losers. That's just kind of how it goes. But it's how you showcase them prior to their loss that really makes it. And here, Jungle Boy got so much in this match. He looked great in defeat, and that's how you need to set him up, and not just the win-loss mattering.
Jungle Boy, I think 5 years from now is going to be one of the biggest babyface stars in the business. I do think that he doesn't have to do it right now, but eventually, when as a storyline thing, that it's time for him to grow up and become a more serious wrestler, he's got to drop the name.
I've said the same thing.
Jungle Jack Perry sounds like a star. Jungle Boy, not so much.
Yeah. Next up, there was just a short segment. Go ahead.
Hold on. I have to say one more thing about FTR. They are like, you built the perfect tag team in a laboratory using the best parts of Arn and Tully and the Midnight Express and the rest of the 1986 Crockett Cup. They have the talent and the desire and the passion. All they need is the platform and the booking. FTR, freaking great.
Yeah, hold on to that thought, and we'll get back to it in a little while, because I have a thought on that too. Matt Hardy is shown backstage. He's grabbing his leg. Of course, he doesn't say what exactly happened. Private Party are backstage with him, and then we have Jericho and Hager walking in. Jericho's carrying his bat, and they are laughing at Matt Hardy getting dropped, insinuating that they were responsible for it, but nobody saw it happen, and apparently the people getting attacked don't see who attacked them, even though it was to the front of his leg, which you would figure he's probably facing the person who's actually attacking him. But it is what it is. And even commentary was arguing over what actually happened, with people thinking it was Jericho, and I think it was even JR saying, well, we didn't see it, he hasn't said who attacked him.
I love it when JR is the voice of logic on the show.
He was a voice of logic at a few points on this show. It was pretty good. Then we have Frankie Kazarian versus Hangman Page, and if it wasn't for other stuff that happened, this would have been match of the night. But then we had a better match, I believe. We have Kenny Omega. He comes out and he's going to be on commentary throughout this entire match. And this match was a back and forth. Nobody was in control for any length of time. Really, the biggest thing here, well, one, this was a very, very good match. But then with Kenny Omega on commentary, him putting in just kind of these little jabs, almost like a passive aggressive jab here and there, trying to stay politically neutral, I guess, with what he's saying about Hangman, not trying to bury his what apparently ex-friend at this point. So he's like, yeah, here's when I would normally, Hangman would be looking to tag me in, so things along those lines. And then we have Page looking like a lost dog, looking at his friend over at commentary once in a while throughout the match to see what his friend is doing. Be like, look, I'm doing good. And then we do have a really cool counter of the buckshot lariat attempt from Page. Kazarian hits him with a cutter for a near fall, but in the end, he does manage to hit a buckshot lariat and pick up the win over Kazarian. I thought this match was really, really good. And just to top it off, right once the pin happened, that's when Kenny's like, well, it's been great, guys. He throws down his headset and he walks down the tunnel, and then he is gone before Hangman can look back and realizes that Kenny has disappeared from commentary.
I want to take a moment to put over Frankie Kazarian, because Frankie Kazarian is the kind of wrestler who is never going to get the appreciation he deserves as a wrestler because he's not a huge personality. This guy has consistently had a full-time job wrestling for over 15 years because he can wrestle. Okay, Kazarian is a guy that you can put in the ring with anybody and he is going to bust his ass, wrestle hard, and give you a quality match. And these guys, like I said, they worked their asses off. I loved every second of it. Eric, I'm a simple man. I like pretty dark-haired women, breakfast foods, and good, strong wrestling matches.
Yeah, this was really good. Ton of back and forth. There was really no slow spots, and it was really varied in the kind of sequences that they did. They didn't really go back to anything over again, and it was just a solid match. Whenever anybody attempted a big move for a second time, it got countered. So there was a time where Kazarian tried to go for the slingshot DDT again, but that's when Hangman Page counters it. And then, it was the first time that Page tried to go for the buckshot, and Kazarian counters that. It was just a lot of back and forth, a lot of countering, a lot of striking, and I thought this was a excellent match, and would have been match of the night, I think, in any other night.
I remember the exact spot you mentioned when Omega said, this is the point where I would normally make a save. That was when Page kicked out of the Unprettier kill switch, whatever it's called. Because then right after that, Page hit the coolest looking wrist clutch Death Valley driver I have ever seen. And I got really excited because I thought that he was debuting an awesome new finishing move, but it was just a near fall. But
yeah, that was pretty cool. It was like a fisherman's Death Valley driver, basically.
This was a very good professional wrestling match. Eric, may I recap the next match?
Sure.
MJF defeated Shawn Dean in 6 seconds with Fujiwara armbar.
that covers it. That is exactly what happened. The explanation is longer than the match actually went. So this wasn't really a MJF match. It was an MJF promo because
and it was great.
So after the match, he grabs the microphone. Of course, he's trying to make the case that he should be the champion because Jon Moxley used the paradigm shift. and now he is insisting that he be called the uncrowned AEW heavyweight champion of the world, and he wants Justin Roberts to announce him as such, and eventually he does. He also says that one thing that he's noticed to get a fair shake in AEW is you have to have a faction or join a faction. So he kind of hints and talks towards that. So this is where I was having that hold that thought about FTR of taking the best pieces.
Okay, we may be about to have the exact same thought here.
Yeah, about taking the best pieces and having that throwback tag team, with MJF being a real throwback heel and throwback wrestler. Would it make sense for him to join them, or is the story going to go that MJF is such a pain in the ass that nobody wants to join with him?
I don't know where it's going to go, but my first thought when he teased joining a faction was MJF, Sean Spears, and FTR, managed by Tully Blanchard.
Right. So yeah, I don't know where this is going to go. And actually, Daxter's in the chat just mentioned something that we missed on the last match, and that was that they mentioned that it was supposed to be a tag match, but they decided to make it a a singles match
because Kenny did not want a team with Adam Page.
Yeah,
and that was the thing. Okay, he's talking about is how he doesn't want a team with Page anymore. He wants to move on. He wants to be a singles wrestler. Why is he out there doing commentary?
Right. That was very interesting. Thank you, Daxers, for reminding us of that. After the MJF promo, we had a good Technique by Taz segment. These are always good. I'm a big fan of them. They take 30 seconds to 45 seconds and gets in, gets out. This one just covering Ricky Starks' finisher. Yeah, it was what it was.
Funny thing about that's a really cool finisher. And he was doing it on Dark for 2 or 3 weeks before it had a name. And then finally Taz started calling it the Rochambeau. Well, okay, that's an okay, whatever. I'm a history nerd, so I think of Le Comte de Rochambeau. But he was on, Ricky Starks was on the AEW Unrestricted podcast a couple weeks ago. It's like, yeah, I hate that name.
All right, Eddie Kingston is in the ring with Butcher and Blade and the Lucha Bros. And
right after MJF cut a promo about how there's too many factions in this company.
And he sends the Butcher and Blade to the outside, but we don't know why. They're standing on the floor, and he goes on that he never lost the Casino Battle Royale, so he makes that point. He talks about how this is not a stable or faction, it's a family, and families fight sometime, but that's how it is. It's all good. And then he says to Butcher and Blade, grab a victim. So they pull a couple people out of the crowd over the barricade, toss them into the ring, beat them up a little bit, and then they continue on, and then they say, all right, now that everything's in order, we're all ready. And then he tells Blade on the way out of the ring, get your house in order. He said that last week as well, more as a passing comment, but this week more direct to the Blade on getting his house in order. I'm guessing this has something to do with Allie, and maybe we will finally have some sort of conclusion to the Allie storyline over with QT Marshall, or at least a direction of getting to a conclusion.
I'm guessing we're going to get the Butcher and the Blade against the Natural Nightmares sooner rather than later. But,
yeah.
Okay, I loved this segment so much. And here's the thing about it, okay? It just, in terms of storytelling, the way you introduce something and just let it become a part of the world, and then it comes back in an unexpected way. Okay, it's how long has this pandemic been going on? It's been 6 months. Oh
Yep.
my God, 6 months. It is the middle of September. I have been in my house since the second week of March, pretty much. Anyway, what was I talking about? Okay, so that's how long AEW has been doing with just the talent that isn't on the show, and like so those guys have been there for 6 months, and like, they've done like a little bit of like angles and talking, but like when Eddie Kingston said grab a victim, and the Butcher and Blade just start grabbing, Griff Garrison and the other like dark jobbers and throwing them in the ring, just grabbing them out of the front row and throwing them in the ring, like that, like made it just so much better that they had been doing the thing with the wrestlers and the audience for 6 months, that it finally came around to be something.
Well, it's always fun too, because back in the Jungle Boy Luchasaurus match at the beginning, Luchasaurus went for a cross body with somebody who was against the railing, and whoever was there jumped out of the way, and he cross bodied the entire front row with like knocked over like 10 guys. So that's something that's something you can't do with a real audience.
That's going to be, okay, like 10 years from now, we're going to go back and review these pandemic pro wrestling shows and be like, man, like, just little things like that you could never do in any other situation that worked because of the pandemic. It's just making the best out of a bad situation and doing some more creative things. That AEW, I think, has handled pandemic remarkably well.
I know now they're going to have to do like one side of the ring designated as wrestlers sitting in the front like 2 rows, so they can do the stuff like that, so they can fly over the railing and all that fun stuff. Something that Daxter said in the comments, Phoenix needs to stop hanging on people like he's a baby koala.
One final comment about this segment: Eddie Kingston is the greatest. Such a great promo. Oh my! Did the freaking promo that he cut on the cookie on Being the Elite?
That was hilarious.
Oh my God, it was so good. And watch it. It's the very first thing on Being the Elite.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to watch all those, just go watch Eddie Kingston cut a promo on a chocolate chip cookie and convince you that he has a deep relationship to this cookie. He the one thing. And it's the great thing about AEW promos that you don't see in WWE. He talks like he's a real person,
right? Especially because he's making up on the fly too. It's not like he's had script or anything to go with it. So yeah, it was great that he cut a promo on a cookie. Moving on, the next match is Private Party versus Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. I thought this was again a good match. I didn't see any serious flaws with it. One thing I did like that played back to something I didn't like in the previous match they had was one of the guys from Private Party tried to roll up or just do like drop toe hold on Jake Hager, but he outweighs them by so much it would make no sense that they'd be able to like perform the move. So he stayed up, and then the other guy from Private Party came in and finished putting him down, which I thought was good, because last time I forgot who it was who tried to roll him up, but it's like, Sonny Kiss. It's like Sonny Kiss would not have nearly enough leverage to get Jake Hager down in that type of move. So I liked here that he actually stayed up, and it took the second guy to take him down. We have Hager using the bat to the back of Cassidy behind the ref's back. I'm guessing they do a little bit of trickery on swapping out the bat for a real one versus a fake or a plastic one, because he laid into him in the back. I'm hoping it was not a real aluminum bat that he happened to use, though it didn't sound like it when he dropped it on the concrete. So I think they've done a few of those little bit of trickery where they swap out the bat for a spot, and then in the end, though, we have, I believe it was Cassidy. He avoids a Judas effect near the end and tries to roll up Jericho for a near fall. But then Cassidy misses a Swanton bomb, and then Jericho nails him with the Judas effect, picks up the 3 count.
So this was the point of the show where my wife came in the room to talk to me about something. So I was kind of watching it in my periphery while I was talking to her. It looked like a good, solid tag team match. Like I didn't even see the bat to the back. I knew he was selling his back later, but I didn't know what had happened. But they got the heat on Isaiah Cassidy, sold his back. The story of the finish was that Private Party made a mistake. Okay, Cassidy sold. Quinn got the hot tag, made a big comeback, but then he tagged Cassidy back in way too soon.
Yep.
Especially with he's been selling his back the whole match. So Hager and Quinn ended up on the outside, and I think they spilled into the crowd too. And we got a really good closing stretch where Cassidy fought real hard against Chris Jericho, but fell to the Judas effect.
Yeah, one of the near the end of the match spots was he charged in on Hager, who kind of went for like a back body drop type of move, but he ended up throwing him up to hit Jericho with a top rope hurricanrana that Jericho's sitting on the top rope.
I'm trying to. I was watching like some old early 2000s Japan, and I saw somebody really random do a top rope. It was Tenryu. I saw Genichiro Tenryu do a top rope Frankensteiner the other day, at like when he was like 53. Holy crap! Anyway, go ahead.
And then the selling from Cassidy after taking the shot to the bat was really good. It really played into the rest of the match. I like that. It stuck the continuity throughout the rest. And then after the match, Jericho continues to beat on Isaiah Cassidy until Mark Quinn comes in to make the save and drops Jericho, and then Jake Hager has to run around the side of the ring to pull Jericho out to safety before they close out this segment.
So when Cassidy was selling the lower back, I assumed that the finish was going to be the Walls of Jericho, but they did the Judas effect instead, and then did the Walls of Jericho after the match. You had Jericho at Cassidy in the Walls of Jericho, and then Quinn gave him a Pele kick to break it up.
Yeah. Next up, we had the NWA Women's Championship match. Yes, so the NWA Women's Championship was defended on AEW. It was Ivelisse with Diamante at ringside versus Thunder Rosa. At the beginning of this match, I thought it was a little bit slow and clunky, a little bit of too much choreographing, but then it basically looked like I was watching something in Korakuen Hall because they started beating the crap out of each other. They laid in so many strikes, and Thunder Rosa, the basement drop kick to a sitting opponent, she just decks whoever is there. I would not want to be on the receiving end. By the end of this match, Ivelisse had a giant bruise on one side of her ribs, and there was a big one starting to develop right on the front of her thigh as well. So it looked like she did not have a very good time in the end. Lots and lots of striking, lots of going back and forth. We have a really nice dragon screw leg whip from Rosa to Ivelisse. Ivelisse, that is how you sell a dragon screw leg whip, and that's how you should turn with it too. Jericho, take notice from those Orange Cassidy ones. Rosa hits a tiger driver for near fall, and then in the end, we also have Ivelisse. She hits that roll through, and then the kick to the face that she's been using basically as her finisher. Rosa kicks out. Very near fall there, and then they continue on. Rosa hits a Death Valley driver for a near fall, and then Rosa hits Ivelisse with the Tombstone pile driver and picks up the 3.
That was a hell of a tombstone.
I thought, well, it works because Ivelisse has the really long hair, so you can't see where her head actually starts, so it makes it look even more devastating.
It wasn't like the catch wasn't smooth and the kind of huddle, but it looked like a struggle. Okay, it looked like it was somewhat legitimate.
Yeah.
I have quite a few comments on this match because it was awesome. Like I wasn't feeling this for the first maybe like 3 minutes, and then they just kicked it up a gear, and a fight broke out here on the show. I love that classic throwback NWA women's belt. It manages to look classy and ladylike while also looking like a wrestling championship. Sheeta, I'm sure Sheeta was in the front row watching with great interest. That came into play later. I assumed that this program was going to be ongoing. But it's been a very long time since I have seen women do such solid, intense wrestling. Ivelisse was definitely the right pick to work with Thunder Rosa here. They're both badasses with something to prove. I never watched Lucha Underground, so Ivelisse is new to me since she started here in AEW, and I've become a bigger fan of hers every time I see her wrestle. By the time this match was over, I was reevaluating my list of favorite women's wrestlers, and right now both of these women are on it. This was a great match, and these are just two phenomenal professional wrestlers.
Yeah, she is very good. I liked her in Lucha Underground. She was part of the Trios champions for quite a while, which was all the wrestling there was pretty much intergender. There wasn't like a women's division, so she wrestled the guys and all that stuff. And she was really good. She's really intense. And back at the first Casino Battle Royale, she was in it. At the first Double or Nothing, I'm like, oh sweet, they signed Ivelisse, but then of course they hadn't signed her, and she hasn't come in until now. So I was always hoping we would get her way back then, but getting her now is just fine for me. I always thought that match that she had with Diamante should have gone the other way, and Ivelisse should have got the title shot against Sheeta. I thought that would have been a better match. I'm guessing we'll probably see Ivelisse and Sheeta soon anyways, and I'm looking forward to that as a singles. But after the match, we have Diamante coming in and attacking Thunder Rosa, and that is until Hikaru Shida jumps over the barricade, runs in to make the save, and that actually is going to set up next week. We're going to see Thunder Rosa and Hikaru Shida teaming up against Ivelisse and Diamante. So there, or at least we're going to see a preview of what Sheeta and Ivelisse might be able to do together as well.
That is going to be a hell of a match.
We have some highlights from the debut of Miro, and then they show him and Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. Miro is lifting weights in the background, and Kip Sabian is talking about how, that before a wedding, you got to have a bachelor party. And Miro gets up. He basically is like, I want to get into the ring and destroy people and, feed me somebody. And Kip Sabian's like, well, we got to get this out of the way first. And Miro's like, right. We got to do that first. And he's going to give him the best bachelor party ever. And we will see how this goes. I am curious where Miro as a character is going to end up and how this is going to play out with Kip Sabian.
Yeah, for some reason, I guess the story is that Miro isn't allowed to wrestle in AEW until he provides Kip with a bachelor party.
Very strange, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about this being the way to bring Miro into the company.
Yeah, I'm going to take a wait and see, because I think it's still salvageable. I don't think they've destroyed it yet, because they could go down the route of Miro is just going to totally ruin their wedding.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go for it.
Over the past year and a half, there's been a few, mistakes here and there, but I've gained a lot of confidence in Tony Khan's booking. There have been a few things that just, like he's brand new. Like, for a guy who's booking pro wrestling for the first time, he has been a phenomenal booker. Like, I think, like, he might actually, this is going to be the first time in a long time that the Best Booker award of the Wrestling Observer is not going to be a one-horse race with Gato.
Right. Yeah, I that could definitely happen. I have a lot more leeway and a lot more faith that everything will work out, because for the most part things do, and the things that end up crashing and burning, they tend to get away from in a reasonable time frame. Next up, we have Lance Archer and Jake Roberts. They go out to the ring. Archer pulls another fan in. Man, the fans are getting destroyed. He pulls a fan in and beats the crap out of him, sends him packing. And Jake Roberts is talking about how, you know, they are going to have a tag team match next week against Jon Moxley and whoever he decides to pick as a team. And he basically goes with the rather team with the devil I know versus the devil I don't. And he calls out Taz. And basically Taz says, it's good doing business with you. We have Brian Cage and Ricky Starks coming in as teammates for Lance Archer, under the condition that if Lance Archer wins the AEW championship from Jon Moxley, that Brian Cage will get the first title shot. That is basically how they work out their deal. And then, of course, Moxley has to interrupt. He comes out through the normal spot in the crowd, and a very funny callback to last week where a fan almost attacked him, or was it 2 weeks ago? A fan runs in, he had to be tackled. Here we have a fan attacking him from behind, but it turns out to be Ricky Starks, and then Brian Cage comes in and they start beating down on Moxley, and then in runs Big Will Hobbs with a chair to help out Moxley. Moxley grabs the mic and introduces Will Hobbs to everyone, saying that he's going to be his partner, and his other partner is going to be Darby Allin, which I think I speculated on them teaming up at some point anyways, because back after their title match that he had with Darby Allin, he cut a promo saying that, I know we're both kind of lone wolves, but I'm willing to ride with you anytime.
Yeah, so I skipped this segment, so I was just listening to you recap it, and I knew, okay, so Archer, Cage, and Starks against Mox, Darby, and who? And when you said Will Hobbs, man, he's I'm one of the dozen or so people that watches AEW Dark every week, right? So I've seen, he was I think I saw his record on Dark this week. I think he's 2-5 now. But I've been watching, since the pandemic, they've had all these independent guys doing jobs on Dark every week and just accumulating really, horrible record. And then Will Hobbs, they see something in him. So I kept thinking, okay, eventually you have got to have one of these guys who has been job silly actually catch a win and then start to become someone. Right. And I'm really excited that they're starting to do that with Will Hobbs.
Yeah, I think they actually have signed him now, so he is actually part of the roster. So should be interesting. He had a match with Darby a couple of weeks ago, right, on Dynamite.
Yeah, I think it was on Dark, or was it on Dynamite?
Yeah, Darby had a match on Dynamite with a big guy. I was pretty sure it was him. It could have been somebody else. But yeah, so I think that's a solid signing. The guy is huge, and yeah. Should be a fun match next week. And then we go on to the main event of the evening. This is the parking lot brawl with Best Friends versus Santana and Ortiz. A little interesting here with Santana and Ortiz coming out with face paint, very Dead Presidents type of face paint. So here we have
Destiny.
What?
I was thinking Gorillas of Destiny.
They were that was very similar, very God like as well. So I guess it could have gone either way, however they want to go. So they have this match. It is in the back parking lot. It's surrounded by cars, and basically all the wrestlers who are normally at ringside are out there as well. So I love the setup. The visual was great. And this was a pre-taped match. Well, of course, the whole show was pre-taped, but this was kind of a separate taping type of deal. And actually, they managed to do it all in one take. They were going to allow it to be, if they needed to fix something, they could if it didn't work. But this match worked. We have Trent. He slams Ortiz on the trunk of a car. Basically, we have, by the time this is over, we have like 6 cars that need to go to the body shop or the glass replacement shop or both. And we have Trent and Taylor trapped Ortiz under the hood of a car, between the engine and the hood, and they kept doing like swanton bombs and other dives onto the hood of the car with Ortiz under it. We have Ortiz giving a suplex, I believe it was to Taylor, on the top of a car, busting out the rear windshield. It cut up his arm pretty bad because the rear windshield that is of Ortiz's arm. Santana gets run into the car mirror at one point. He gets busted open, and this was insane. We have Ortiz hitting Trent with a dustpan at one point, a metal dustpan, and then they I believe it was it was Ortiz drops Trent on the top of a car, and then like out of nowhere comes flying in to do a splash onto Trent on the top of the car is Ortiz. They break some wood over everybody's back, and then Trent ends up taking a double power bomb from Santana Ortiz through a car windshield, which cut his back up like crazy. So much for safety glass. And then some more attacks with some wood, and then Taylor is dropped. He's leaning up against the back of a car, and you can see him. He has the little remote for the car, and he hits it a couple times, and the trunk pops open, and out comes Orange Cassidy, and he hits Santana with an orange punch, and his hand is wrapped with a chain. And then Cassidy, he picks up Santana, brings him over to Chuck Taylor, who then hits a pile driver on the hood of a car, and then Trent hits the crunchy in the bed of a truck that had a piece of plywood spread across the top of it. Through that, gets the 3 count. And then the topper of the whole thing, Sue, Trent's mom, is there with the minivan, gives Trent a hug. Of course, he's all covered in blood. They all get into the car. The Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, and Trent get into the minivan, and she starts to pull out, and she puts her hand out the window, and she pauses for a second. I thought she was gonna give the weak thumbs up from Orange Cassidy, but no, she quickly pops her hand up and gives everybody the middle finger and then drives off. That I was laughing at for like a minute straight, and I had to go back because my wife was like, "What is so funny?" So I had to back it up and show her that as well.
I have to go back and watch this while I'm not in a hurry to finish. Like I said, I was watching this right as we were trying to do the podcast, and my notes get kind of erratic. So I wrote here, I'm going to quote, "Ha ha ha, F word, sentons onto the hood, pancake Ortiz." Yeah, like I said, this is probably the best like parking lot match I have ever seen. They did a lot of creative stuff. Like I said, they destroyed several junker cars. I hope somebody is keeping track of how many cars have been destroyed on AEW so far.
Yeah, that is why the title of today's video is AEW really hates cars.
The reveal of Orange being in the trunk, I popped for. That was just That was a very Orange Cassidy thing to do. And of it ending with they're driving away with Sue. This was so they were supposed to have this match like 6 months ago. Do you remember?
Yeah, Best Friends, and it was going to be Best Friends versus Lucha Bros.
Okay, yeah, was it Lucha Bros? Okay, yeah, and it was like
it was going to be right. It was like the second or third week of the pandemic.
Yeah, but anyway, so they finally Best Friends. I don't have anything against them, but just for my, not one of my favorite acts in wrestling, but I think they're like a good solid tag team. Ortiz and Santana, I think, are an excellent tag team, but I was really surprised by just if you told me 2 months ago, hey, we're about to do a feud between the Best Friends and Santana and Ortiz that is going to involve Trent's mom's van and ruining clothes in the shower, and then they're going to have a parking lot fight. I would have been like, that sounds horrible. But this whole the matches, the angles, the their promos, this blow off, this has been. And especially for something just like a mid card tag team feud, this has been this was a great program.
Yeah, I thought this was really fun. About the match, it was a crazy match, but there was nothing overly dangerous that was going to cause any serious long-term injury or anything like that. Of course, you had the little pieces of glass to deal with, but those are just superficial. There were no really high spots as in height wise, so no one was going to crash and burn through anything. So overall, as being a hardcore match, I thought it was a very well worked, well thought out, and safely worked, as safe could be in this type of environment.
Yeah, man, this was great.
Yeah, and a lot of people are praising this as we might be seeing one of the top 10 matches of the year contenders right here. And go figure that it's a parking lot match with Best Friends Santana Ortiz with Orange Cassidy in it as well. One thing I really, really liked was how they had all the wrestlers who are normally at ringside out there as well amongst the cars. They had
the same ones who had just been at ringside.
Right. But I think they added so much atmosphere because they were so loud. They were banging on trash cans. They were, banging on the cars, slapping the hood of the cars that they were near. I saw Brandon Cutler a bazillion times. He was basically front and center of the group the whole time. I thought the visual was great. The sound was excellent. And I think this was just put together very well. It seems that it was a lot of thought from Jerry Lynn had a big hand in putting this match together, as well as some ideas from Tony Khan as well. So big thumbs up to everybody who put this match together, and especially the guys who executed it.
Oh, no, Eric, not a big thumbs up.
Hey, half-hearted thumbs up from Orange Cassidy. All right, so let's talk about what everybody wants to talk about is the ratings. So the ratings are in, and Dynamite beat NXT like usual, but they were, of course, down 12.8% from last week's 1.016 million. They did 886,000 viewers to NXT's 689. So almost a 200,000 viewer gap there. So very interesting how that worked out. One, there was no basketball or NHL to compete with this week either. So,
but last week there was no NXT to compete with because NXT was on Tuesday.
Right. Well, so That's what. So the Observer calculates the combined total of each, and the weeks that they have been not airing on the same night, the total audience between the two of them was much higher than the combined audience when they're going against each other. So, like last week, the total combined, because they were on different nights, was 1.85 million viewers versus 1.57 this week. So we have that overlap. We're looking at roughly 300,000 people that decide which way they're going to go. It looks like about 200,000 or 100,000 people choose NXT, and 200,000 decide I'm going to go to AEW, and they kind of split up there. It's very interesting how it goes. Or yeah, actually, I mean, it's probably almost closer to half and half of that 300 each choose the other.
NXT is only on TV to siphon viewers away from AEW. We all know it. That's what it's there for. It is what it is.
Yeah, and it clearly does that, though still the 886 is well above the 10-week moving average. And NXT, now that they're back with competition against AEW, they're running about middle ground where they normally sit. So it looks like AEW did pick up a little bit of an audience, though, over this kind of breakup week, and we'll see how it goes if they continue to build some momentum. I don't know what the answer is to bring in more viewers overall into AEW, ignoring siphoning anybody off of NXT.
You take your time and invest in making your product as good as it can be, and give it a little time for people to find you.
Yeah, I think really you need to bring wrestling fans, or you need to create new wrestling fans, because we're looking at 1.5 million. So that's combined between the two shows that are watching on Wednesday nights, which is not much lower than what is watching Raw and SmackDown these nights. I mean, I think Raw's third hour was actually less than the combined audience of this week.
Yeah, so it's been an interesting observation the past several weeks, is that AEW and NXT on Wednesdays are doing more viewers combined than Raw on Mondays. Now, that doesn't sound like it should mean anything, but what it means is that for the first time in 30 years, Monday is ceasing to be wrestling night, and Wednesday is becoming wrestling night for more.
Yeah, so very interesting how this is going to continue to play out. AEW has been doing quite well the past few weeks, and they've been doing good throughout the pandemic. Of course, we're kind of at the higher end ever since the pandemic started, and even before. So very interesting how it's going to play out, and I'm looking forward to see how it goes.
Yeah, me too. Okay, one other thing we got to talk about real quick.
Sure.
Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler on Dark.
Oh, that was great. That was the ending exactly how I wanted it.
It is not the ending I wanted, and let me explain. So the deal, they're the biggest losers. The two biggest geeks in the company. They teamed together for a while to try to win, and lost. And then Peter Avalon finally turned on Cutler, so they're gonna have the battle of the losers, and somebody is gonna get a win. So they start to have this match, and they're wrestling, they're having a match, and then just kind of like with the Ivelisse and Thunder Rosa match, they just kicked into gear, and they started having a match. And I was looking at the time. And at the time, it had there was a good amount of time left on Dark. And I was thinking, just please, just let them wrestle really hard like this for 20 minutes and do a time limit draw. I would have liked that so much more than the count out. The count out was fine or whatever. But
well, I think this is the first of multiple matches that are going to end in draws.
Yeah, I want my, because once I saw because I'm not. not extremely familiar with those guys as wrestlers outside of AEW. So once I saw that they kicked it into gear and like really started, going, I want my 20-minute time limit draw with these guys.
Yeah, I think we've had the double count out. I think we have to have a double DQ. I think we have to have a double submission, and we need a double pin. We need a time limit draw. We need all types of ways how these matches do not end in winners to continue on for a while.
I want them to wrestle on Dark every week for like the next 6 months and just find ways to like do a legitimate draw. Don't do like shitty WWE no contest. Do a legitimate draw every week.
Yeah. I think it'll be. I knew they were going to go. There was no way it was going to be a draw. This match, I knew it had to happen. But I'm curious how long they can keep it going. Maybe they'll keep getting draws so much that they'll get back together, and then they'll keep losing as a team, and then they'll blow up again, and we'll see how it goes. Could be interesting. Anything else you want to cover before we wrap it up here?
People that don't watch AEW Dark, you're doing yourself a disservice, because it's a lot of little things that just add a lot to your overall enjoyment of AEW.
Yeah, and it's nice that they have now they have some Dark specific storylines going, because obviously Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler's basically is all on Dark or being the Elite, so it's nice to have Dark specific storylines that don't bleed into Dynamite.
Yeah, and I think that's a much better use if you are going to use being the Elite to promote the actual wrestling product. It should mostly be things like that on Dark that aren't going to intrude on the main show. Right.
So Daxers is mentioning, there's a show that's going to be on Tuesday. This was actually, it's just going to be a 1 hour show. It was something that they filmed in case I believe it was the Lakers? I don't know. It was one of the series, one of the NBA series. If they went to a Game 7 was going to be on this past Wednesday night. So Dynamite was going to be pushed to Thursday. So they had filmed a 1 hour bit of content to put on immediately after the game if that happened, but now it didn't happen, so they had Dynamite on Wednesday like normal. And what they're going to do, they're going to use this content on Tuesday over on TNT, and then we're back on our regular schedule with Dynamite on Wednesday. I don't think it's anything serious. There's 3 matches on there.
Yeah, Matt Sydal and Sean Spears is the main event. I don't remember the other matches.
Yeah, one of them's a Brandy match, which I don't really care about. But I don't think this is not going to be the show, their 3rd hour show that they're going to be adding some point this year. So this is just something that they filmed specifically for this day, and now they're just using it because they had to use it within the next week or so to make it make sense.
Yeah, and it's gonna be. I think this is gonna be mostly straight matches and not a lot of storyline stuff. Since when they filmed it, they didn't know if it was going to air before or after the show we just reviewed. So.
Baxter said, "Oh no, not another Brandy match."
Who did she wrestle? Did she wrestle Red Velvet on Dark?
Yes, that's who she wrestled.
I kind of like her just a little bit, Red Velvet.
All right, so I think the next podcast is not going to be AEW. We're going to be back probably sometime early next week to cover the first 2 nights of the G1 Climax, because that is starting on Saturday, so that should be good. So I'm thinking a Tuesday maybe. We'll see how that works out. But that is the next time I think we'll be back. And so you have anything you want to plug before we wrap it up here?
Please go to at a bad historian on Twitter, and I will explain how I fixed my G1 Climax brackets after you pointed out to me that I flubbed something. And I ended up like the outcome is still the same, but it works out in B block to where on the final night, it comes down to if Naito beats Kent. Okay, let me say this in the right order. If Kenta beats Naito and Sonata beats Evil, Kenta goes to the finals. If Evil beats Sonata, he goes to the finals. Period. But if Naito beats Kenta and Evil draws Sonata, then Naito goes to the finals. So you put Naito and Kenta on next to last, Naito wins, and then Sonata is in a situation where it's Sonata and Evil, it's the grudge match between tag partners, and Sonata is going to have a hell of a choice to make.
Because Sonata will be already knocked out, but if he beats Evil, then that sends Naito, and if he loses to Evil...
If he beats Evil, it sends Evil to the final. If he draws him, it sends Naito to the final.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I am not a math person. I'm a historian. So, like, you just don't understand the amount of effort that I put into booking that tournament.
All right, so that should be good. At A Bad Historian over on Twitter, and I am really bad at Twitter, so That's Wrestling 1, the number 1, because somebody else already had That's Wrestling and hasn't used it for like 10 years, so yeah. All right, so be sure to check out this podcast over on YouTube if you're listening to this as a podcast, because we do this show live over on YouTube, and if you hit the bell notification, it will let you know as soon as I schedule a live stream, which is really important when it comes to New Japan, because those are going to be scattered all over the place because they do not have a set schedule, whereas AEW tends to be 7 p.m. Eastern on Thursday or whatever is the day immediately after the show. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can grab this on all your favorite podcast apps. If you can't find it on one of your podcast apps, shoot me an email, eric@thatswrestling.com, and I can get it submitted. But it's on at least like 60 plus different apps that I know of, according to my downloads. So good to know there. Head over to iTunes, give us a review. It really helps out because it would help move us into some higher up in the search rankings if people are searching on wrestling and all that fun stuff. So that'd be good. And I think that is pretty much it. Any comment, question, feedback, stuff like that, send them to eric@thatswrestling.com. There is one thing in the mailbag right now, but it can be held over because it has. I think we might use it as a topic sometime in the future. So thanks for watching, everybody. For Trae, Wisecarver, my name is Eric LaRoche, and you've been watching or listening to That's Wrestling. See you later, guys.
Bye.